I thought I should just share a small scripture just to give us direction on our prayer. I know today being a holiday, quite a number of people are out of town. But still I feel I need to share this scripture. First I want us to begin with the Lord's Prayer. Give me the Lord's Prayer. And then look at Genesis chapter 29 from verses 31. But let's look at the Lord's Prayer first. Can we pray that prayer together? Pray, therefore, like this. Come on, everybody, let's pray. Let's begin again. Pray. Let's begin together. Pray, therefore, like this. How do we pray? Our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will. And then? Amen. Just to give you a thought that I think it will inform our praying. If you must enjoy prayer and get the best out of prayer, I want you to note this down. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayers. That's what I want us to discuss tonight. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayers. It says one of the principles in the Lord's Prayer is the condition of your heart towards your environment. Forgive us as we forgive. The condition of your heart towards your environment can become the basis of your prayer. And we end up praying what the Bible says, praying amiss. The Bible talks about giving with a consideration of your environment. It says when you bring your offering and remember that there is an issue you have with someone, leave your offering on the altar. Go and sort out your environment before you present the offering. And the reason is simple. Your offering will always taste like your heart condition. So God is saying, your offering is not separate from your heart. Your offering is an expression of your heart. So he says, your heart has issues with someone. If you burn your offering on the altar, it smells like the condition of your heart. Same thing in prayer. He said, when you pray, pray like this. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done. And give us this day our daily bread. Forgive our debts as we forgive. And I love how the Amplified says, let remit and let go of debts and have given up resentment against our debtors. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. Three things that I think are very vital. You can never pray well if you can't forgive quickly. One of the principles of prayer is your ability to let go. It says the yardstick of your forgiveness informs the entry to your breakthrough. forgive us as we forgive. I've been a pastor for a while now. I've been a leader of prayer in a ministry, in a church. I've been a leader of prayer in a department, in an institution, in the Bible school. I was a leader of prayer. I've been the leader of prayer in church. I've prayed. And I discovered something. The enemy can easily set the agenda of your prayer. I want you to consider this. Prayer is purely the condition of your heart. That's prayer. Prayer is the condition of my heart. Nothing less, nothing more. Maombi ni hali ya moyo wa mtu. Maombi sio maneno unasema, ni hali ya moyo mahali natoka. Usiruhusu adui awe ndio mwenye kuamua mwelekeo wa maombi yako. Na Yesu akasema, mkiomba omba hivi, utusamee kama vile tunawasamee. One of the prayer answers you should be looking for is your ability to offload anything that would interfere with the answer of prayer. And those are issues of the heart. When you're a pastor, people smell. Is that the right word, really? People pick the condition of your heart in spite of the wordings from your lips. If you are joyful, even if you express yourself with anger, people can still pick the joy in your anger. And if you are bitter, people can still pick bitterness in your laughter. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. And I want to give you three examples that I think are very important. Prayer is predictable because prayer always reflects or responds to the condition of the heart. The Bible says, what things you desire when you pray. So the condition of your heart is the magnet of your answer. Remember, the Bible says, some have prayed amiss. And he said the picture of what amiss means is the condition of their heart. It says their intention is to consume based on their selfish desires. Do not let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. You do ask God for them and yet fail to receive them. James chapter 4. Because you ask with wrong purpose and evil, selfish motives. Your intention is when you get what you desire, you spend it on sexual pleasure. Listen, you can never pray for God to kill someone. That is not prayer. You can never pray for God to demote someone. That's not prayer. You cannot ask fire to consume someone. It won't benefit you. There are better things to pray for. Remember, prayer is exactly the condition of your heart. And unless you are praying to see things happen without, this is my take. If you want someone to die, unless that will give you joy, I would rather God blesses me than kill someone. It depends on what you want. Do not let the enemy set the agenda for your prayer. Listen, friends. tests like the condition of your heart. I thank God for his goodness and faithfulness. If you are not careful, you may miss birthing the vision God has given to you. Trying to put on wildfires around your garden. We have an enemy. He's a schemer. He's a trickster. He has wiles and schemes. He will let you fight fires instead of tilling the land. Watu wa Mungu, tuko na adui anajua hawezi kutushinda. Lakini atawasha mioto na moshi na vituko na watu kupigana barabarani ukienda ukisuluhisha badala ya kwenda safari ya kwako. 5 lessons I learned in my walk of faith. Number 1, pray for the vision. That's the essence of a man or a woman of God. Pray for the vision. The success of the vision is your success. The success of the vision is your victory. The success of the vision is your warfare. The success of the vision is your battles. The success of the vision is your life. Pray for the vision. Because listen, my friends, it doesn't matter what happens where. Your success is your vision. Pray for the vision. We learned a lesson either early this year or early last year. Focus on the baby. It was early this year or last year. Focus on the baby. Don't focus on pain. Listen, friends, you can't stop enmity. You can't kill the devil. You can't stop jealous people. You can't stop opposition. But you can pursue your dreams. What else would we define victory other than fulfilling our vision? If it is not part of your vision, don't put your efforts. Now listen, you have the grace to succeed. Focus on it. So what is my remedy? I focus on the vision. Number 2, I've learned a lesson. Keep your heart. Keep your heart safe. Keep your heart safe. Remember your prayers tests like your heart. The Bible says above all things, guard your heart with all diligence. Listen, my friends, look at me. It is to your disadvantage if you go home with a heavy heart, while the cause of that heaviness goes home rejoicing. Huh? It would be wrong for you to go home hurting, while the source of the pain takes pleasure in your hurting. Guard your heart. I've learned a lesson. Like a woman breastfeeds his child or his children. Listen, mothers, children don't drink the milk. They drink the heart of the mother. That's why it is advisable in counseling, psychology, that when you are bitter, don't breastfeed your baby, because they will suck your bitterness. That's why you realize the first thing a child does when they want to breastfeed is to pamper the mama to feel good. They will make sure they massage you to feel good. They will tinkle your emotions. They will cry so that you break, you become tender. Because a child wants milk. I've learned a lesson. Guard your heart. Number 3, isolate the enemy from real issues. Isolate the enemy from real issues. Don't mix the devil. Don't mix the enemy with your issues. Number 4, lessons I've learned. The enemy can use anybody. The enemy can use anybody. The enemy can use anybody. Ask yourself about Judas. When somebody is a treasurer, money is the core of any institution. Whoever is entrusted with the money bag is trusted. Forget about Peter, forget about John, forget about James. Talk about Judas. A treasurer is the heartbeat of any organization. Remember, the enemy can use anybody. Never trust beyond trust. You know what I learned in my life? The enemy targets where you lean on. The enemy targets the people you trust. The enemy will target the people you open your heart to. The enemy will always find a Judas who knows your secret place. The enemy can use anybody. Number 5, lessons I've learned. Bless at all times. Bless at all times. Never let the enemy set the agenda for your prayer. Genesis chapter 29. Genesis. I said number 1, remedies that have saved me in ministry. Number 1, pray for the vision. Number 2, keep your heart safe. Number 3, isolate real issues from the enemy. Number 4, remember the enemy can use anybody. Number 5, that's right. Bless at all times. When you choose to bless, then there is no room for bitterness. Bless at all times. Why should you do that? Because it is what you give that comes back to you. So if you give me a bush of thorns, I will plant seeds of hope. Why should you focus on the vision? Because God blesses your vision, not your enemy. God works with your vision, not your distractors. Your enemies only confirm you of something, but they should not be your focus. Genesis 29, look at verses 31. When the Lord saw that Leah was despised, he made her able to bear children. But Rachel was barren. Now look at Leah. Leah was the first wife to Jacob. And then, of course, there were issues that she would not have children. I mean, she was not loved. So God made her to have children. But Rachel, who was loved, was barren. But look at the bitterness of Leah. The bitterness of Leah took her a long route instead of enjoying the benefits of the blessings of God. Leah became pregnant and bore a son and named him Reuben, which means see, or the Lord has seen. Remember, I'm addressing, never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayers. So Leah, her focus was to impress Jacob. So she bore a child from the Lord, out of the mercies of the Lord, but her motivation was to be visible. The Bible says For she said, because the Lord has seen my humiliation and affliction, now my husband will love me. Look at the motivation. She wanted to be visible. She wanted to entice the man. She did not see the picture of having the babies. She did not focus on God. She focused on the husband. Look at the language of bitterness. Go back. The language of bitterness is, the Lord has seen my humiliation and affliction. So what was the motivation? Pain. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. And I want you to keep that word at the back of your heart, because there's something important I want you to address. Because listen, friends, you can pray forever, and the enemy will keep on setting the agenda of your prayer every day, every hour, every day, every hour. Now listen, God does not meet the demands of your bitterness. Even when God answers what you prayed with pain, He does not answer to justify your bitterness. He's answering to sway you away from that pain. Unfortunately, as much as the Lord answered a prayer, it did not succeed to get our eyes from the humiliation. She called it humiliation. Look at it this way. Who closed the womb of Rachel? God. To comfort who? Leah. Who gave children to Leah? How did Leah credit God for her babies? Nothing. Her focus was still, I will have this baby so that my husband will see and love me. And Rachel, who has humiliated me, will see. Look at the next verse. She became pregnant again and bore a son and said, because the Lord heard that I am despised. Look at the motivation of this girl. The Lord has seen that I'm despised. He has given me this son also. And she named him Reuben. Simon. Which means God sees. God does what? Yes. I like the fact that you're committed to the scripture. God hears. Let me ask you a question. I want you to be very candid with yourself. How many of you have ever prayed and the motivation is the pain, the humiliation you went through? And you are like, Lord, because they have mistreated me. Lord, because they have mishandled me. Lord, because they took me down. Lord, because they sacked me. Lord, because they left me. Bless me so that. Yes. How many of you have ever prayed the prayer of Jabez? Yes. Listen, the prayer of Jabez is not a model. It's not a module to read. It's not a prayer to pray. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayers. Leah became pregnant again, and she bore a son and said, now this time, will my husband be a companion to me? Atawachana na ule. For I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore he was named Levi, which means what? Companion. Now look at all the namings of Leah. She tuned her pain to seduce the man and forgot the God. Let me ask something, Leah. Did you want babies or you wanted the husband? By the way, let's go back. Where was the source of the children? The husband. But look at the motivation of Leah. Bitterness. Bitterness. Listen, anything you achieve through bitterness, you have to sustain by bitterness. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayers. I repeat, never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. Leah had as a divine intervention, God steps in and says, listen, I know you are hated, but I'll make sure you have babies. But instead of Leah focusing on the big picture, she used the blessings to express her bitterness. And all her blessings became a display of her pain. Leah did not enjoy the children she bore because she used them to defend and display a pain. Again, she conceived and bore a son. And she said, now, this time, I will praise the Lord. And so she called his name Judah, which means praise the Lord. Then for a time, she ceased to bear children. When she got tired of pain, she said, this time, I will praise the Lord. And that was the end of her pain. Look at Hannah in the Bible. Hannah used a pain to look for a baby. She used pain to look. Listen, friends, anything realized through pain will never bring pleasure. Kwa hivyo, ombea adui yako aishi siku mingi, ili unapobarikiwa ajione kimacho macho. Forget about those nonsense. You should succeed because you are designed to succeed, not to prove a point. Listen, my friends, don't be a tool in the hands of an enemy. Don't be a tool in the hands of the enemy. And don't let the devil use your blessings as his weapons of war. Hannah in the book of Samuel had a need. And the need was she had no child. And she prayed. When she prayed, the Bible says the husband would give double. Go to verses 7, 8. Somebody there? So it was year after year, whenever Hannah went up to the Lord's house, Peninnah provoked her. So she wept and did not eat. Listen, never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. Hannah allowed provocation from Peninnah to inform a prayer. Would you help me turn to your neighbor? Tell them, never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. Can I recommend to you? Use your tears as a sacrifice of worship, not an expression of pain and bitterness. Never let the devil see your tears. I gave you my 5 principles that has kept me safe on this altar called the pulpit. The Bible says, so it was. Keep going, my friend. Then Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you cry? And why do you not eat? And why are you grieved? Listen to the description. She's provoked to a level where her tears, her countenance displays a heart condition. Listen, friends, you can give birth to a miracle called bitterness. You think you have a baby, but you have actually pushed out your pain. Why do you not eat? Why are you grieving? Am I not more to you than 10 sons? So Hannah rose after they had eaten and drank in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on his seat beside the post at the temple tent of the Lord. And Hannah was in distress of soul, praying to the Lord and weeping bitterly. Now, for a long time, I thought God answered Hannah's prayer because of this condition. No, the Lord refused to justify Hannah's bitterness. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. Are we through with the former? Okay, go to the next verse. She vowed, saying, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your handmaid. That sounds like a good prayer. But the motivation is bitterness. If you will look at the condition of your handmaid, the affliction of your handmaid, and honestly remember, and not forget your handmaid, but will give me a son, I will give him to the Lord all his life. No razor shall touch his head. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you have had to pray those prayers? Talk to me, come on. How many? Let's shame the devil. How many of you have ever prayed those prayers? How many of you know that anything you get on that account, you never fulfill your promise? If you ask God, give me this to prove a point to my enemy, you will always retain it to still prove a point to your enemy. You never enjoy anything received from bitterness. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. I'm talking to you. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. And as she continued praying before the Lord, Eli noticed her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. So Eli thought she was drunk. Look at the countenance of bitterness. Even when you are in the spirit, in the presence of God, you look like your condition. Eli said to her, how long will you be intoxicated? Put wine away from you. Hannah looked like wine. She looked like a drunkard. Bitterness. Listen, nobody is worth your pain. There is a better way to pray. To pray from an environment of peace and joy and confidence and faith in God. But Hannah answered, no, my Lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. Hannah, why are you sorrowful? Listen, Hannah, Benina did not close your womb. She's not your problem. Yes. Hannah, yes. You are bitter for nothing. Your focus is wrong. Yes. There is something God is cooking. Yes. It is not Benina on duty. It is God on duty. So stop your bitterness. Why are you bitter towards Benina? Of course, she provoked. Whom did you want the devil to use? A maid? A madman? So she said, I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I was pouring out my soul before the Lord. Listen, the enemy will sustain what hurts you. Write that down and write in capital letters. The enemy will always sustain what hurts you. Shetani atahakikisha ile kitu inakusumbua, ile kitu inakuumiza, itabaki, atamwakilia maji, atabalilia, atafence, atachunga, Na hiyo ikinyauka atapanda ingine. Na huyo akihama atainua mwingine. Huyo mwingine akihama town atainua mwingine. Akitoka hiyo church atainua mwingine. Ushatambua ile vitu inakusumbua, haishangi. Ukichange estate unawapata huko. Ukichange ofisi unawapata huko. Ukichange kanisa unawapata huko. Ukichange marafiki, mmoja wao ni yule. Kwa sababu roho ni roho. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayers. Listen, anything prayed out of bitterness is empowered by bitterness. It's human effort which does not bring glory to God. Regard not your handmaid as a wicked woman, for out of my great complaint and bitter provocation I have been speaking. So why are you praying, Anna? Are you praying for the will of God, or you are praying out of your provocation? Hebu niulizie jirani yako, what makes you pray? Amesema nini? Listen, there is enough of the will of God we should pray than trying to prove a point to our enemies. Let your kingdom come. Let your will be done. There is enough in the will of God more than our distractors. Ben-Hina should not inform you are praying. Listen, Anna, your womb was shut for a purpose. It is not Penina. God is on duty. Then Eli said, go in peace. Now listen to the words of the prophet. He defied her condition and introduced peace. Because until peace is on board, bitterness will delay the miracle. And if bitterness succeeds to bring about the miracle, bitterness will become the identity of that miracle. Nobody enjoys what they got out of pain. Eli said, go in peace. May the Lord of Israel grant your petition, not your pain, your petition, which you have asked him. Now go forth. Hannah said, let your handmaid find grace in your sight. She's now changing. So she went her way and ate, and her countenance no longer sad. Pain left. Three things that I think are important for tonight, so that as we pray. Remember, the emphasis is never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. Listen, friends, if you are not smart, the devil can make sure at any given time something is bothering your heart. If you're not careful, the enemy can make sure at any given time something is bothering your heart. Listen to me. If you kneel down to pray and the first thing that clicks in your heart is an issue or someone that hurt you, you need to deal with it first. Who should be the first thing that clicks in your heart in the presence of God? It should be the presence of God, the will of God, the joy of the Lord, the peace of God. Now listen to me. You can't pray accurately if you have issues in your heart. And the devil is a schemer. He would make sure at any... Hiyo picha imetosha bwana, enda andika notes. Umenipiga picha mpaka nimekuwa na hivi. Enda andika notes. Umepiga picha mingi kuliko points zangu. Listen. The enemy can orchestrate an environment that at any given time defiles your heart. Look at me, God is my witness. The devil can keep you in an environment of bitterness until your season of harvest is past, and then leave you in the wilderness. Did you hear what I said? Judas was entertained until Jesus was crucified. When he brought back the money, he was told, we have nothing to do with you. There is a condition that can keep you in pain until your season is past. And when you go back, those of you who, you may not understand that, those of us who live in the streets, we know how people can use you to go and commit a crime with a promise. But when you are caught, they denounce you. Say, we never knew you. Those of you who understand politics, you know what that means. People can use you. The enemy can entice and entangle your heart. Look at me. The reason why people don't love prayer is because they have issues in their hearts. You can take that to wherever you think. Listen, the only thing that keeps people away from prayer are issues. Nothing more. Listen, when people begin to skip prayer, there are issues. I'm okay, we are fine, I'm busy. No. Listen, you can't be busy from January to January. There are issues. Prayer informs everything called ministry. Prayer is the condition of the heart. Prayer informs service. Prayer informs praise. Prayer informs giving. Prayer informs church. Every service you offer carries the condition of your prayer life. Listen, friends, you cannot serve without prayer. Otherwise, your service is human effort. But of course, there is this Pentecostal religious trick. I am having my private personal prayer. Listen, whatever informs your praying determines your praying, and so informs the answer. I recommend to you, guard your heart with all diligence. Number 2, learn to forgive quickly. Listen, forgiveness is not based on how the beneficiary deserves it. By the way, listen, your enemy does not deserve your forgiveness. You do. I forgive to stay peaceful. Because if you knew the value of peace, you would not have hurt me in the first place. Learn to forgive easily. Learn to let go quickly. Are you with me? Number 3. Build circles around your life, around your dream. They call it in another language, establish boundaries. Know who comes how close. I recommend to you, my friends, as we pray, never let everybody get a free, direct access to your heart of hearts. Know who to meet in town. Know who to meet in a restaurant. Know who to meet at the gate. Know who to meet at the compound. Know who comes to the door, who comes to the living room, and who comes to your bedroom. Don't leave your heart like a city without walls. Put circles. Establish boundaries. Before you trust people with your inner cord, the inner cord of your heart, take your time. Remember, point number 2, the enemy can use anybody. Was it number 2, number 3, number 4? The enemy can use anybody. And remember, the devil always looks for someone whose actions will get to your nerves. You remember the pastor who said he donated blood to a member of his church? And then when he came out of the hospital, he never came back to church. I spoke I spoke to a pastor this morning and he said, I now understand. Ministry is not pulpit. And I told them, it has never been. Anybody who thinks ministry is pulpit, they miss it. You know why? Even where I am right now, as I'm talking to you, all of you from your eyes are analyzing and judging what I'm saying. And if your heart has an issue, condition, you are trying to look at it from that perspective. Could you be addressing me? Or has somebody hurt you? Or is there an issue in your heart? People have asked me, the way you preach today, you are very serious. Is there a problem? Ministry is not pulpit. And those of you who are dreaming to preach, I want to recommend to you, everything you preach will test you. Did you hear what I said? Yes. People will try to match what you say with how you live. People will question your integrity. People would question your prayer life. People will analyze your life against your sermon. And the devil will always, listen to the temptation of the devil. If you are the Son of God, it has to be what you claim. Your temptations will always be in the same frequency of your claim. You say you are a giver. You say you are an intercessor. That's why most people who are intercessors go through a lot of issues. Because the enemy knows if you spoil the river, that's what flows. Learn to forgive quickly. What did I say? Learn to forgive quickly. Number 3. Pray because you have an agenda, not because it has been created by a situation. Let me mention something that I think is very important. Most of the people who are falling into a cult, went for prayer with bitterness. Went for prayer with bitterness. There's a case we handled some times back in our. Some of you remember there was a day. I think I said this. I said, please, if you want to go to a prayer center, consult. Let's help you. Let's help you. If you want to go to a prayer center, talk to me. There's something I know you don't. I can help you. But guess what? We are dealing with Kenyans. You've given them enough reasons not to tell you. So this girl goes to a prayer center out of a frustration she went through. Met this woman. Unfortunately, it's always women who has the power to see. And so she saw. And because it was a prayer center, she told this girl what she saw. And this girl came when the pastor was preaching. She stood. She was seated somewhere. She stood and came here. And stood. Have you seen those people who would not walk beyond that pillar to the pulpit? Have you seen those people who avoid to shake the pastor's hand? That girl was that type. But out of the intuition, she walked here. It's like now I'm preaching and that girl walks here and starts saying, the Lord is saying, Pastor, listen. That girl caused chaos. Because when you pray in bitterness, the enemy amplifies your pain. Most people who fall into cults pray under pain. When you hear people have gone to Seers. You know what I mean by seers? There is someone, and surprisingly again, with all due respect, those who are watching, how many of you have ever had a seer who is a man? Mshasikia watu wanaombea watu wanaume. Iko wako. I've never had one. This one has an experience of one. I've never had one. And this is what you hear a lot from those seers. Actually, it is witchcraft. They will tell you, you see that woman in the church? You see the leader to the mothers? You see that man there? You see the pastor? There is something about you. They have captured your star. They have you know what you hear, you people. Bitterness will always lead you to where it will be watered. I can tell you for free, there is a courage that when you look at it from the frequency of the Spirit, it is not a holy courage. It's demonic. One of the indications of a cult is that people begin to have a wild courage. Humility and respect goes away. And there is a courage. You seen that person who can't look at you straight in the eye? They can now look at you straight and say, you know, bitterness is deadly. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. I want us to make a prayer briefly. What is the remedy then? Simple. In all that you pray, this is how you should focus your prayers to save yourself from the enemy setting the agenda of your prayer. This is how you should pray. Your will be done. And make a step further. Be a lover of the Bible. Find out the will of God concerning your situation. Those of you who are here and those of you who are watching, you will remember this sermon someday. Listen, friends. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. A girl who was planning for a wedding quarreled with the boyfriend a month to the wedding, and the contention was the color of the suit. And one of the dangerous positions is when you have people who champions your dissenting voice. Have you discovered anytime you have pain, the devil brings people around you who fuels and water your... So the committee separated into two. And by the second last week, the wedding was cancelled. And this girl decided that she's going to pray and fast for 40 days for God to give her a husband. And sure enough, she got married before this man was engaged. Yeah. But she got a husband. Mr. Bitter. Finally left salvation, left marriage, left everything. It's not a good picture. It's not even a good example. Never let the enemy set the agenda of your prayer. It doesn't matter who hurt you. Don't allow it to be the basis of your prayer. I beg you in Jesus' name, guard your heart. Guard your heart. I have a resolution in my heart. I will pray when my spirit is prompted to pray for an agenda in God, not because something is going wrong. Somebody asked me a question one day. There was a time we had some storms in this ministry. You know, storms come. So we had storms, and I think somebody expected me to react and do the reaction to salvage. Let me tell you something. You can't salvage what God can salvage. And the earlier you know that, Mr. Bitock, the better. Knowing that you are a steward, you are not the owner. If God doesn't salvage, you cannot. So somebody expected me to, so I kept on preaching and acting like nothing was going on. Never called a meeting, never talked to anybody. So one day, two brothers called me and took me to some restaurant somewhere. And we went there to have lunch, and they were like, Daddy, I don't know whether you are aware. The way you are behaving is like nothing is going on. It's like, do you know things are... I say, I know. I even know what you don't. I know more than what you don't know. And the question, why aren't you acting? And I said, that's exactly why God made me the pastor. I can't put on all fires led by the devil. It's not my calling. Listen, friends. Never let the devil, never let the enemy set the agenda. When you are annoyed, don't pray. When you are frustrated, don't pray. Heal your heart before you pray the will of God. Forgive and let go. Stand on your feet. Next week we will go into our groups, but today I want us to pray in unity. Stand on your feet. Hakika wema na sofani The Bible says the joy of the Lord is our strength. Look at me. It just came to my spirit. You remember Moses? What was the reason why Moses did not enter Canaan? And you remember Canaan is a place of your rest. Everybody has a Canaan of their dreams. It's a place where God wants you to enter rest. In your ministry, in your marriage, in your business, in your calling, in your health. Everybody ought to attain that place called where? Moses is a principle of a leader. Remember, you are the leader of your own flock, which happens to be within you. If you can't lead you, you can't lead them. What was the one thing that denied Moses Canaan? Anger. How did he express anger? The children of Israel wanted water. Okay? God told him, go and speak to the rock. But in the process of finding the rock, preparing to speak to the rock, pressure was everywhere. Give us water. Did you bring us here to kill us of thirst? Out of his frustration, he struck the rock. Did the water come out? Yes, it did. Was that the will of God? No. Did they drink the water? Yes. Was their thirst quenched? Yes. But what happened to the source of the water? Listen. Issues can deny you Canaan. Moses missed Canaan because he acted out of his human frustrations. Guard your heart. And one of the ways to do that, ladies and gentlemen, look at me. One of the ways to do that is simple. Stop making everything look very serious. Learn to despise some things. Yeah. Ukikuta mtoto amefunja TV, dunia haijaisha. Toa hiyo kitu tupa. Na upange ununue TV ingine. Bana tafuta kisu. Ati nitaua mtu kwa hii nyumba. TV utanunua, mtoto utanunua wapi? Na ukiua mtoto utaona TV lini? Make something simple. Ati umefutwa kazi, so blood pressure imepanda. How many people are jobless? Take some of these things easy. Take them easy. Take them easy. You know? At their relationship broke, your life has come to an end. Which life? Your life has been secured. Take it easy. Take it easy. At your candidate did not win. Take it easy, my friend. Take it easy. You have a life to live. Some things should not bother. They should not be serious. Kuna vitu tunafanya ikuwa serious, vitu ya uchinga kabisa. At the conductor alipaki na 5 bob yako, so unataka gari iende police station ama ushuki, alafu na realize mwenye alichukua pesa alishuka, alafu tumia tena. Listen, take some of these things very easy. Listen, learn to devalue some of these things. Ati mtu alikataa kukusalamia, you save yourself from sanitizing your hands. Take it easy. They didn't call me. Pray. Or make a reverse call to yourself. Some things we make them look very big. Ati mtu alikusema. Why don't you be positive that somebody can talk about you? You have something to talk about. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Learn to embarrass your critics. The best way to beat your critics is that they shouldn't find you where they left you. Did you hear what I said? Be like Paul. They stone you and leave you to death, and they hear of your news on the other side. Never let the stone of your enemy kill you. Huh? Be like Stephen. Baba wasamei wa chinga. Hawajui vitu wanafanya. Be like that thief who said, forget this one. Some things make them very casual. Ati mtu alikuwa na pesa yako, sasa unataka blood pressure. Utapata wapi pesa ya kwenda hospitali? Pesa, mtu ananunua gari, alafu inapata accident na inaenda. Unanunua ng'ombe, alafu anakufa. Unachukua mimba, alafu inatoka. Pure kabisa. Unafanya campaign, alafu unashindwa. Pure kabisa. Uchana hizo vitu. Unafungua kanisa, alafu inafunga. Unalea Mkristo, alafu unahubiria, anaokoka, unapatisa, unapea mke, unamuombea, anafanikiwa, alafu wanaanza hubiria ngine. Ukue kama wasasi. That's why tunazaa watoto wengi, kwa sababu hujui gani atakuwa mwenda wazimu. Handle some of these things easy. You know? Ati mume wangu ananisumbua. Think about women who have no husbands. Have life. Hey, have life. Some of these things, devalue them. Make them so secondary. Yes. You know, you meet a brother, is like he talked about you. Don't ask them. I want to tell you a piece of my mind. Assume you didn't hear. That's why the Bible says, do not listen to everything people say. Because you may hear people who are not what you respond talking about you. And I announce in church, it's only that Christians don't understand. I have announced in church severally. If you hear a story about me, don't come and tell me. Yes. You're not doing me a favor. Because you can't change what was said. Yes. And you shouldn't join who said. Hebu nisaidia mbe jirani yako, pure kabisa. Pure kabisa. Kuna vitu vingine tu pusia uko mbali. Pusia hizo mbali. Haistahili. 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 Ati kuna mtu akupendi. So, you know, ati kuna mtu apendi kanisa yako. So, kuna watu hawapendi pasta yako. So, kuna watu hawapendi vile unafaa. So, uchana hizo vitu. Mungu anakupenda. Mungu anakupenda. Listen, you need more friends. Build a circle around you. You know what you need to do? That's my resolution. I have a circle of who I listen to. Before I entertain any information, I want to know, is it from this inner circle? If it is not, it is noise. It's not worth my dreams. Paka unasikia roho ina. Alafu by the time unapata ukweli, kumbe haikuwa kweli. And by the way, unachunguza ndio. The best way to silence things is to deny them a ground to grow. It will not hurt you. It will not affect you if it doesn't find room in your heart. Nobody has the power to hurt you externally. Would you help me raise up your hand and ask the Holy Spirit to help you know the will of God? Live the will of God. Pray the will of God. Run the will of God. Fulfill the will of God. Come on, ask the Holy Spirit. Ask the Holy Spirit. Help me know the will of God. Help me live the will of God. Help me act the will of God. Help me pray the will of God. Help me run the will of God. Live the will of God. I want to give to the will of God. I want to serve the will of God. I want to pray the will of God. I want to relate the will of God. I will never let the devil, I will never let the devil set the agenda of my prayer. I will never let the enemy determine my joy. I will never let circumstances inform my prayer. My spirit will pray to the God of solution, the God of vision, the God of direction. I will give to the Lord. I will serve the Lord. The enemy will never determine my response to the instructions of God. I will never give under bitterness. I will never make decisions under bitterness. I will never pray under bitterness. I will never give under negative influence. I will never serve in bitterness. I will do it joyfully. I'll do it joyfully. Lord, I submit to your will. 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 Lord, I submit to your will tonight. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Lastly, will you ask the Lord, let your will be done in my life. Let your will be done in my finances. Let the will be done in my family. Let your will be done in my calling. Let your will be done in the church. Let your will be done in our nation. Let your will be done. Let your will be done. Come on. Let your will be done in my life. Talk to the Lord. Talk to the Lord. He hears prayer. Let your will be done in my life. Let your will be done. Let your will be done. Let your will be done, Lord. 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 Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Lift your hands. Nafsi yangu ya kutamani, roho yangu yaona kiu, kama yala atafutavyo maji ya mto, ndivyo nafsi yangu ya kutamani. Lift your hands to the Lord as you say those words again. Nafsi yangu ya kutamani, oh, roho yangu yaona kiu, kama yala atafutavyo maji ya mto, ndivyo nafsi yangu ya kutamani. Nijaze na Roho Mtakatifu, niweke karibu na wewe, nirejeshe furaha ya wokovu, hivyo nafsi yangu ya kutamani. Listen to me. Knowing the will of God makes prayer sweet, makes prayer gracious, makes prayer enjoyable, makes prayer possible. Knowing the will of God removes human heaviness. Sometimes we wonder when the Bible says pray without ceasing. How do I pray like that? When you know the will of God, somebody asked me, why do you like traveling alone? One of the reasons why I love traveling alone and driving myself is because when I'm driving alone, I pray. I put on the music and I speak in tongues. I never consider distance. Between here to Nairobi is nothing to me. I speak in tongues by the time I discover I am in Limuru. I love to pray. You know why? Prayer brings a heavenly cloud that expels anything human. That's why the Bible says, is any of you in trouble? Let them pray. It doesn't say trouble should make you pray. It says pray because there is trouble. Because prayer brings a cloud of the will of God. Remember, God answers his will. So be in his will. Package your offerings. You want to give an offering tonight or it's okay? Good. Package your offerings. Let's bless it. Unijaze na Roho Mtakatifu. Next week we will move into our groups. Unijaze. Kama unahitaji bahasha, inua mkono wako, ushers wako karibu na wewe. Kama unatumia simu, our pay bill is available. Let's do it so that I can bless it. Unijaze. Nirejeshe furaha yako, ndivyo nafsi yangu ya kutamani. And Lord, with our giving tonight, we acknowledge you. We give joyfully. That's what your word prescribes. Not under pressure, not under the demand of necessity. We do it joyfully. So our offering reflects and represents our hearts. Those who are giving online, those who are giving directly, those who are here, those who are catching up with us, may we connect to that river of grace with the joy of the Lord. In Jesus' name. Amen.